in. Sorry about that. That's okay. You'll want to stay anyway. We were wondering, gee, how many people are going to come from all over to be here for this? And I think the answer is quite a few. I'm very, very pleased. In the last weeks, we have taken an aging Grange Hall, built in 1938. It has served all sorts of purposes over the years. It's been a school, it's been a social place for the community to meet, it's been a church group meeting place, it's been all sorts of things. We've taken that and we've converted it into something else. We're not abnegating the past of this building. We wanted to keep the same basic shape. We wanted to keep the red color because we really liked it. We wanted to keep the word Grange in the title. And there wasn't much opposers. Guess I'll never run for president. NewGrange Hall, or NewGrange Hall, because this is both. A hall, in the old days, was a place where the folk came together and they feasted and they told each other stories and they entertained each other. They honored the courageous. They laughed at the humorous. And they welded themselves together into tribes, clans, and peoples. This is also a Hof, Old Norse, for a temple or a holy place. And although we will be living a convivial lifestyle while we're in this hall, we will be talking, we will be laughing, we will be feasting, we will be drinking, we'll be raising our horns, honoring the gods, honoring our ancestors, honoring ourselves and the accomplishments that we put down into the well of weird. At the same time, we will honor the holy powers. You may say, who are these holy powers? They're the holy powers your ancestors knew for countless thousands of years. They live within us. They move, breathe within us and without us. They may seem strange, unless you've been watching the Vikings system series or something, you know. But they're not strange. They're there all along. They're whispering in your soul, whispering in your heart. They're that waking dream you had at a certain time. They're that hunch. They're that intuition. They're that knowledge that comes to you unbidden, that insight, that awareness. They're that oneness with nature in particular that at times strikes you out of nowhere and you think you're totally urbanized, atomized, removed from the natural world, and then suddenly something so intensely beautiful strikes you that you know you are connected to something higher. NewGrange. There was the old Grange Hall. This is the new Grange Hall. But there's more to that name than that. Many of you familiar with Irish prehistory know there is a very special place in the Boyne Valley called NewGrange. It's thousands of years old. You know what's special about NewGrange is this. You enter behind a carved stone that has 3 interlocked spirals on it. And you go down a narrow passage. And you go, I don't even know how far it is. 50, 60, 70, 80 feet? I don't know. In the darkness, you lose that kind of perspective. And you get back in there and it opens up into a chamber. It's not a huge chamber, but there's little recesses in the chambers. And in the old days, way before the Vikings, way before any of that, our earliest ancestors in Europe would take the bodies of the deceased and place them in these wall cavities after death. And then a miracle happens. And it happens once a year. On the morning after the winter solstice, the sun shoots a beam straight down that passage. The light lasts for 17 minutes. And then, again, the chamber is immersed in darkness. To me, I think of the light shooting into this chamber, sending light, sending life, sending transformation for the souls of those dead, taking them to where they need to be, giving them a portion of immortality. I stood in that chamber, and the tour guide simulated that session with a flashlight. And I'm glad it was dark in there, because tears were rolling down my cheeks. Our primitive ancestors, right? I want NewGrange Hall and Hof to be a source of light. I want this to be a place that brings spiritual connections, a way that shows us the way back to our ancestors. For we are one with those ancestors. In the 21st century, we think we're these little itemized, atomized, reduced little entities, these little marbles rolling around in a dead universe. And that's a lie. Each and every one of us, and in my opinion, each and every person in the world, is connected to their ancestors. They live in you. They live through you. They breathe through you. You are their latest expression in this slice of space and time. And each and every one of us is an ancestor in training. Someday, your descendants will look back 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, 500 years. Maybe they'll find you in whatever takes the place of Ancestry.com, a century from now. And they will wonder, who was Brad? What was he like? Who was Chris? Who was Charlotte? Who was Janet? Who were these people? Each of us has the duty to pass on the very best that we can, to raise ourselves to the highest possible level, and to become the person that those descendants will need for inspiration. NewGrange Hall has a role in it. One of the items we have not yet added to this structure will be a stone with that same threefold spiral that's at the door of NewGrange. And thanks to one of our members, we have a piece of soil and a stone from that very site. I hope that's not illegal, but you know nothing. Sometimes break the law before the law breaks. I know you don't expect to do that from a former corrections guy, but there it is. And that will be our connection with NewGrange. That will be our times we live in are perilous spiritually. As I mentioned before, we're taught that we're nothing but meaningless atoms. It's all about today. It's all about consuming. It's all about buying something. It's all about thinking like everybody really thinks, because if you get outside the box, you might be politically incorrect. You might offend somebody. Sometimes you have to offend. I need to be offended from time to time, and there's always plenty of people willing to do that. Because in a way, that's a self-check. It keeps you moving, keeps you aware, keeps you awake. Pain sometimes keeps you awake, and that's not a bad thing. There has been nothing on this scale honoring the gods and goddesses of our ancestors for at least 800 years. There have been modest hofs built around the country and around the world, and I do not in any way impugn or denigrate those attempts. They are all noble attempts, each and every one of them. But most of them are in the possession of individuals. And individuals come and individuals go, and individuals change their minds. And most of them, though honorable and noble, are small. Some of them very small. Does Kirby Wyatt still have his off in the desert? Does anybody know? I don't know if you guys are still in touch with him. But there are other people around the country. There's wonderful people back in the eastern part of the country that are building hofs. They're not large, but they're doing it. But there's been nothing on this scale for 800 years. In the 1200s, the temple at Uppsala in Sweden, which some of you may have become familiar with due to the Viking series, was burned. Possibly there were other similar structures over in the Baltic area that were destroyed. But for at least 800 years, there has been nothing like what you are sitting in. This is a new thing, a wonderful thing that is a reflection of an old thing. Imagine the desolation. Imagine the desolation that followed when those temples were burned. Imagine the desolation when your ancestors were tortured and murdered because they would not give up the old ways. And yes, that did happen. I have no gripe with Christians. Please don't understand me. This is not a personal assault on anyone's beliefs. But the historical fact is this. There was a 1,000-year war to convert Europe to Christianity. It started in the Italian peninsula with Constantine in the 300s, and it ended in the 1200s or 1300s in Northern Europe. Our ancestors fought every inch of the way. But the invading belief destroyed our culture. It pulled us out of our context. It destroyed the old ways. It not only burned the temples, it burned some of the people. And it destroyed their customs. Destroyed their folk ways. Left the old halls in ruins. Left hearts and entire peoples in ruins. There's a poem called The Wanderer, written in Anglo-Saxon. And it doesn't exactly relate to the conversion period per se, but it does relate to the death of the hall. We could say of the Hof as well. Yes, the temples are gone. So also are the places that we met to come together. The places where the heroes, the warriors, and the ordinary people, the workers, the farmers, could join together, where they were a folk, a community, instead of atomized BBs bouncing around a mindless universe. A portion of that poem, The Wanderer, reads, "Walls stand battered by the wind, covered by frost, the roofs collapsed. The wine halls crumbled, the warriors lie dead, cut off from joy. The great troop all crumpled, proud by the wall. One war took, led to his death. One a bird lifted over the high sea. One the hoary wolf broke with death. One bloody cheeked, a warrior hid in a hole on the ground. In this kind of social chaos, in many ways not unlike the social chaos we face today, people ask questions. They want answers. They want to know what happened to this way that we knew, the way that we treasured. And some of them ask this question like this.
Where kom Merge? Where kom Marbo? Where kom Mathum Giffa? Where kom Sumla Gesetchi? Where Sindon Seladremas?
That's in the old tongue. Roughly translated, it's what happens to the horse? What happens to the warrior? What happens to the gift giver? What happens to the wine hall? Where are the sounds of joy? And today we have an answer for that. The sound of joy is here. The wine hall is here. Those who follow the ways of our ancestors are here. We are back, and this time we're not going away. Hail! Hail! You are here witnessing a historical event. 800 years in the making. 800 years of generation after generation suffering the loss of soul. We as a people have lost our collective soul. Consider shamanic societies, where a person is ill or showing disturbed symptoms. You know, the shaman goes into the other world to recover their soul. That's sort of the context they're working in. You can consider that our collective soul has been ripped from us. We have been forced to fit into an alien construct, a box that is not us and does not work for us. But now we are back. And I don't say that with anger. I don't say that with anything except joy. I woke up this morning crying from joy. I was so happy to be here. So happy to know that we have attained this. So in a couple of minutes, you're going to be here while we consecrate this hall. First, I want to talk about the people that made it possible. Any of y'all who've been driving up and down for the past few weeks, you've seen cars parked out here. Maybe you've seen the forge going. Maybe you heard a hammer of people working iron. Maybe you've heard the saws and the hammering and seen the people come and go. There are people who have driven, I don't know how many hours from where they live, up and down the state, to be here, to work. No pay. No monetary pay. This is we have many people also who gave that form of energy our society uses, called money, to make this happen. I'm obliged by honor and by our custom to read the names of some of those individuals. And some of them are present, and I will ask them to stand if they will, if they're embarrassed.
Too bad.
What he said. Andrew and Sabrina Latour, Lord and Lady of the Hall. Janet Dieter, Diane Schachterly and Jim Erickson. Carlson. Philip M. Koch. Joshua and Liberty Buckley. Stephen Sheila McNallen. It's the only job I ever had where I have to pay instead of getting paid. Justin Burleson. Michelle Matson. Mike Sagenario. Sam Lakey. Clifford Erickson. Ryan Harlan and Rachel Reinhardt. Michael Knapp. James Pate. Suzanne Whithouse. Martin Balosus. Sunrise Solutions. John Johnson. And other fine folks, some of whom are sitting here among us. Catherine Stewart. Steve Engel. Newt Almendinger. Mark McLeod. Glenn Holstein. And I'm sorry if I've missed anybody, but if so, please correct me. But many people up and down the state, many people around the world, many people around the world have made this happen. But let's go back to that sweat equity a little bit. I would ask everyone here who put in physical labor time on this place, please stand up. Show us who you are.
One of those few living things that kind of seemed a bit domesticated. We have wonderful trees right here, but it was one plant, but there was only one. And so it seems like, as everything else in this hop has been balanced, we have the two horse heads and we have the wonderful front doors. It seems like we need another rose bush. And so this rose bush gives me this buzz. It's in honor of our very lovely, wonderful, giving, talented Jessica Rose. Jessica Rose. She's such a talented lady and so giving and so loving. And this is a red rose in honor of our Jessica Rose Rosner, and it is also called Rock and Roll, which I thought was kind of a cool name, because this is Rose, the captain lady. But anyway, it seemed appropriate. We will always know the Jessica Rose bush out front will always be remembered for you. So thank you, Jessica.
Cleaned everything, looks after everybody here.
We just have it up here. And another person will know if she's here, but we really did want to remember our young Miss Maddie. Is Maddie here?
There she is.
Where's Maddie?
Come here. So we have one rose, we have the small rose, who's just as precious to us. Maddie has been working like an adult grandparent for such a young girl. She knew exactly what this was about. And she has put in so much time cleaning and preparing and reorganizing and doing all those things that every adult could possibly need help with. She was constantly, for the last 2 months, been coming up and saying, what can I do to help? And so there's no doubt that we said, this girl is going to be, she's got to be remembered for who she is, and she is our future. This is exactly the kind of a child we need to have and know that it's going to be in good hands. Maddie, this hall is going to be in your hands someday. You're going to be one of our leaders to make sure that it's used as our goal is today, as we wish, and you know you can do that. Okay. A girl with a big heart and the passion and the intellect to go with it. So wonderful job, Maddie. Please. Good job, girl.
You know, we've built a building, but that's not the biggest thing that's happened here. We built a community. We built a tribe. We built connections. We built all those intangible things that you can't put a dollar value on. That's why I'm so happy this day. So now it's time to formally, ritually consecrate this hall. I would like to begin this by